Today, this screencast is a follow-up to the presentation you took notes on yesterday. So just to back up a little bit, you're answering this question: what are the main ideas contained in the Declaration of Independence? Today you're really going to have a clear understanding of that because we are actually going to translate or unpack the Declaration. And so already you, for homework, pulled out the need to knows. That was homework. Today you should have written the summary already before starting this for the need to knows. And now you're ready to translate the Declaration of Independence into 6th grade words. The Declaration of Independence uses pretty fancy language that we do not commonly use today. So you need to unpack it in order to understand it. Down at the bottom of this page are some important documents. These are also on your classroom page, so you can go back to them at any time and look at them throughout this to support what you're doing. You have the Social Studies Alive reading, which I will use. You have a glossary with definitions of words that Thomas Jefferson uses in the Declaration that are not commonly used today. And then the Declaration of Independence handout. You should have received this already. If you haven't, you should pause this and make sure that you have it. And this will go in the history section of your binder. So, understanding the Declaration of Independence. I know that after I finish this, I'm going to have a better understanding of the Declaration of Independence. First, before I read, you will read the following facts about Thomas Jefferson and the drafting or writing of the Declaration of Independence. So we're going to build your background knowledge a little bit. And then you need to use complete sentences when responding to questions. So whenever you see a prompt, use complete sentences. I'll give you some hints to help you with that. First of all, background facts. Thomas Jefferson was selected by the Continental Congress to write the Declaration of Independence. This was the Second Continental Congress. It was in Philadelphia, and it was attended by all 13 colonies. And they selected Thomas Jefferson and a team of other men that helped Jefferson out. Jefferson was 33 years old when he wrote it. So he was the primary writer, and he was pretty young. I think he was the youngest person at the Second Continental Congress. Jefferson was responsible for explaining why the colonies wished to separate from Great Britain and form a new nation. So the gentlemen at the Second Continental Congress selected Jefferson to be the one to write the breakup letter with King George III and the British Parliament and say we are no longer British subjects. And the Declaration of Independence was approved on July 4th, 1776. What's interesting about this date is it's after the Battle of Lexington and Concord. So some battles had already started when this was actually written and the United States formed, breaking free from Great Britain. First question, and this is going to help you with background knowledge. What is the definition of a natural or inalienable or unalienable right? If I was going to respond to that, I might write, to use a complete sentence, the definition of a natural right is. You can use your online dictionary to respond to this. Pause right now and take a moment to write down your response. Okay, now that you've written down your response, turn to your table mates. See if he or she agrees with what you have. So share your response. Add something if you're missing something. See if you are on track. Next question. What is an example, or what are examples, of a natural inalienable right? So now you're thinking of examples of it, now that you know the definition. In order to answer this, you might write, an example of a natural right is, or examples of natural rights are, and then list them. You can come up with one or maybe more. Pause now and provide a response. Now that you've provided a response, you can discuss with your table mates. So pause again and see if you agree with one another or if any changes need to be made. Part 2. We're now ready to read the section. No need to select a reader because I'm your reader. Review the glossary for the Declaration of Independence to help you understand what it is saying. So I'm going to look at this glossary in a moment, and I'm going to show you some of the words and where they are. And then you can go back to it all the time in order to help you understand it. And we're going to read or listen, in this case, to a reading of section 12.6, page 166 and 167 in the Social Studies Alive textbook. So to our glossary, this is also on your classroom page, and you should go back and forth to it in order to write down what you think the Declaration is saying in sixth grade words. So, glossary for the Declaration of Independence. There are some difficult words and phrases in the Declaration of Independence. Below are definitions for these words and phrases. So in Excerpt 1, the word dissolve is used. It means end. Bonds means ties. Impel means force. In Excerpt 2, self-evident means obvious. Endow means provide. Unalienable means not to be taken away. Excerpt 3, secure makes safe. Institute, to establish. Derive, receive. Just means legal. Consent means agreement. Alter means change. Abolish means get rid of. Excerpt 4, usurpation, illegal seizure of power. Indirect object, the goal of. Tyranny, government by an unjust ruler. Submit, present for judgment. Present for judgment. Candid means fair. Finally, Excerpt 5, solemnly means seriously. Absolve means free from. Allegiance means loyalty. And British crown means British king. So you will come back to this all the time to help you translate. And again, it is on your classroom page. Now, the reading is down here, Social Studies Alive. And before we get into the reading, this is what you're doing. Understanding the Declaration of Independence. After you read the section, and we're actually going to do it while you read. So you will rewrite the 5 excerpts of the Declaration of Independence using sixth grade words. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you'll write inside these boxes. I will prompt you when you can pause and write them. So to our reading. So it is 12.6, the Declaration of Independence. And this reading is on the classroom page. So if you need to go back to it, you can access it. I'll begin the reading. The delegates to the Second Continental Congress wanted to explain why the colonies wished to form a separate nation. The following excerpts from the Declaration of Independence are part of this explanation. The entire Declaration of Independence can be found at the back of this book. The first excerpt tells why the colonists felt they needed to write the document. You can see using this italics, this is actually from the Declaration. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. So now, using your glossary, using your neighbors around you, and maybe using the document, so the reading, you can go back to this. Go to your handout and unpack Excerpt 1. What is it saying in sixth grade words? You can share your ideas, talk to your neighbor, use your glossary, and write it down in sixth grade words. You can pause. Back to the reading. The second excerpt lists some of the rights all people should have. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Go back to your glossary, talk to your neighbors, and translate Excerpt 2 into sixth grade words. You can pause this and do that now. The third excerpt explains why government exists. It also describes citizens' rights to the government. It also describes citizens' rights if the government acts unfairly. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government. Reread this. Use your dictionary or your glossary. speak to your neighbors, and translate that in Excerpt 3. Pause. The fourth excerpt presents a general complaint against King George III. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. And it's here that Thomas Jefferson lists all the things he thinks King George has done to the colonies that show that he is a tyrant. So, reread this, use your glossary, and now you're filling in Excerpt 4. Pause. All right, the fifth excerpt declares the colonies' independence. We solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and that state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved. So here's the breakup letter. And talk to your neighbors, use your glossary, translate this into 6th grade words, and you're putting that here in Excerpt 5. You can pause to do that. All right, now that you are done with all the excerpts, on another day we will return to this and make sure we all understand exactly what the Declaration was saying. All right, thank you for listening.